Some powerful moments right there tonight at Sentara Norfolk General Hospital. The Portsmouth police officer who was shot in the line of duty got to go home.
She walked out to a huge crowd of police officers and others cheering for her. Robert Boyd is live at the hospital with more on this hero officer.
Well, David and Regina, if you remember, I was here back on November 6th when Officer Angelina Bellini was brought to the hospital with 5 gunshot wounds. And at that time, it was obviously very serious. No one knew exactly what was in store for her future. So it is really quite remarkable that here we are just about 2 weeks later, and she came walking outside those doors all on her own. What an emotional, amazing sight. Officer Angelina Bellini was speechless as she left Sentara Norfolk General Hospital Tuesday night. She was surrounded by men and women in uniform from across Hampton Roads.
This moment it's unbelievable. You can't put into words how awesome we feel as a family, because that's what this department is. We're a big family.
It's an incredible difference from when Bellini entered the hospital in the back of an ambulance on November 6th after getting hit by 5 bullets. Shot in the line of duty by a 15-year-old boy she was trying to arrest.
The last couple weeks, it's been kind of surreal. I can tell you that she is the most amazing, most strong woman that I've ever met.
Bellini was especially moved when a couple of children handed her American flags. It was an embrace no one will forget.
The kids of law enforcement officers know how important this is, you know, because they know that that could have been their mom, that could have been their dad, and they're just so happy that she's well.
And with a final smile to the crowd of supporters clapping for her outside the hospital, Bellini was whisked away behind a police escort. Her recovery process will continue at home with her family. Portsmouth police say there is no timetable for her return to the department, but they would predict sooner rather than later.
She's ready to get back out there, guys, and I'm telling you what, you know, she's not going to let this keep her down.
Now, Portsmouth police said tonight's crowd was just a small sample of the love and support they have received over the last couple weeks. Not just Officer Bellini, but the department as a whole. They received hundreds of cards, flowers, multiple fundraisers, and blood drives. The community really came together during this very difficult time, and the police department says they will never forget it. Live in Norfolk, Robert Boyd, 13 News Now.
The early reviews are good for some bold steps toward developing the old dome site at the ocean front. A number of people today excited to hear plans to turn the space into shops and restaurants, a surf park, and live entertainment venue. The site is along Pacific Avenue between 18th and 20th Streets. A full partner in the project, superstar Pharrell Williams, who told us he's excited to pump up the energy at the place where he hung out as a kid. The mood at the ocean front definitely upbeat over this new vision for the old dome site. The plan's attractive enough to Darlene and Pete to make them want to visit the area again.
It'll be fun. It's definitely touristy.
The city's development authority announcing they've chosen a plan by Venture Realty Group with its partner Pharrell to turn the site into a year-round destination. The project with broad appeals to families and millennials and hopefully filling hotels when it's not prime beach season.
Our development team's goal was to sort of meet the needs of not only the tourism but the local community as well. That was really important to us because we think that's what's going to make it a success. It has to be a year-round project.
When superstar and Virginia Beach native Pharrell was approached about being a full partner,
I didn't blink. You know, I jumped at it.
The dome site is where Pharrell grew up, listening to music. He told us he'd like to see the energy return.
I think it's long overdue, but you know what? Great things take time.
The new development would encompass 10 acres between 18th and 20th Streets and feature some 350 residential units, at least 125,000 feet of retail and restaurant space, a 50,000 square foot live entertainment venue, and office space. Arguably, the venue's biggest attraction to locals and tourists would be an 80,000 square foot competitive surf park, modeled after a similar project in Austin, Texas, which offers surfing lessons and hosts parties and staffs 20 to 30 lifeguards at all times. Estimates are the public-private partnership has a value north of $300 million.
There's always been incredible and enormous growth potential there. But the idea that the powers that be are recognizing this moment as that time is such an awesome thing.
Right, there are still significant steps in this process. Funding has to be lined up and City Council still has to sign off for this, and we will keep you posted. Well, as you just heard, the centerpiece of this development would be an inland surf park. This would be the second one built in North America. The first surf park opened in Austin, Texas last year. This right here is what it looks like. The Austin location sits on 160 acres. A surfing session there costs anywhere from $60 to $90.
Sentara is still fighting to expand its services in Chesapeake. We told you last month that Sentara wants to add a women's diagnostic facility at its Edinburgh location that would include a 3D mammograph machine. But Chesapeake Regional Medical Center fought the idea, saying they're only 6 miles away and they would lose about $15 million in the first year alone. The city of Chesapeake ultimately decided against a permit for Sentara's plan. Today, we found out Sentara is appealing the decision, saying their proposal is in the best interest of mammography services for women. The plan for a new youth prison in Chesapeake has been put on hold. Tonight, City Council was supposed to vote on a new juvenile detention center to be built on Minuteman Drive, but late this afternoon, the city manager decided to pull the item from the agenda because City Council did not have the supermajority needed to approve it. The prison would have shared space with the state, bringing juveniles from other parts of Virginia into Chesapeake. Many residents were fighting this facility. A protest was even held before tonight's meeting.
We came out to basically let City Council know that a juvenile prison would be the wrong move for the Chesapeake community and for all of Hampton Roads.
It's safe to say that the joint juvenile justice facility is not going to happen. What happens next with juveniles here in Chesapeake remains to be seen, and that's something that the city will go back and look at.
Chesapeake says their current juvenile detention center is old and outdated, which is why they're looking for something new. We will continue to follow this and let you know if another version of this proposal surfaces.
New information about the cases against the 45-year-old Navy veteran accused of kidnapping and murdering Ashanti Billy. Eric Brown is charged with murder in North Carolina and federal kidnapping in Norfolk court. Many of you have asked how prosecutors will work cases in the two separate jurisdictions. We've learned Brown will remain here in Virginia until the federal case is resolved. That case will go first. Federal authorities tell us the North Carolina murder case will be continued indefinitely while the other case goes through the system here.
A bombshell tonight from local Olympian Gabby Douglas. The gold medalist came forward to say she was also sexually abused by the U.S. team gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar. Douglas is the third member of the Fierce 5 gymnastics team to say she was abused by Nassar. The team won a gold in 2012. Ali Raceman and Mackley Maroney also came forward to say that Nassar abused them. Nassar is accused of molesting several girls while working for USA Gymnastics at Michigan State University. Lawsuits have been filed by more than 125 women and girls. Well, tonight we learned of the passing of former teen idol David Cassidy. The pop singer became famous in 1970, playing Keith Partridge in the TV series The Partridge Family. Songs from the sitcom topped the pop charts. Cassidy produced the albums with the Partridge Family, along with some solo ones. Earlier this year, Cassidy announced he had been diagnosed with dementia. David Cassidy was 67 years old.
Tonight, Uber is coming clean about its cover-up of a cyber attack. Last year, hackers stole personal information from more than 57 million Uber customers and drivers. There is no evidence that the stolen information has been misused, but this is the latest stain on Uber's reputation. In June, the company ousted its CEO after an internal investigation showed he built a culture that allowed female workers to be sexually harassed. Just a few days away from Black Friday, and experts are trying to help you find the best deals. Experts with the National Retail Federation say you should check online before heading out on Black Friday to get those doorbusters. And when you are shopping online, you'll have to check the websites frequently. Many sites will pop up new deals at different times throughout the weekend. The move to big box retailers and online shopping is really hurting local retailers. One shop in Suffolk is calling it quits after 20 years.
Executives of the world aren't dressing up like they used to.
When we went in business, there was no such thing really as internet shopping whatsoever.
The owners of Richardson and Nash Clothiers has wrestled over the decision for years. They talked to Chinuher about coming to this decision and their time as business partners.
For decades, two men have been running their clothing store in downtown Suffolk, something they truly enjoy doing. They took so much pride in this, their names are even at the front of the store, Richardson and Nash Clothiers. But as times have changed, their business is taking a hit.
Yeah, we've owned the store for a little over 19 years.
Together, they can give anyone in Suffolk a run for the best dressed business partners.
It's been a great relationship as far as I'm concerned.
Bobby Richardson and Scott Nash, the dapper duo of Richardson and Nash Clothiers, have been the ones for years.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, don't remind me. Yeah.
Fitting generations of people in their finest.
We've been able to cultivate family relationships through 3 generations, which is pretty unique.
Unique relationships they've come to cherish, which is why hanging this sign,
we hate to go,
and all the ones that come with it, was one of the toughest decisions these partners and childhood friends had to make.
You know, we've
been talking about it for probably 2 or 3 years.
3 years, but then
just trying to figure out how it to happen.
We're going to have to do this.
With sales declining, competing with the internet, and a younger generation that's dressing up less, Richardson and Nash are deciding to hang it up at the end of the year.
Like any business, there were plenty of headaches here, but they were balanced out by the relationships, by the people.
Until closing day comes, they'll still have the chance to soak in the final moments. Some of those relationships may come to an end, but for these two,
the emotions that it brings up are sadness, but excitement all at the same time for a new chapter.
The story continues. In Suffolk, Chinuher, 13 News Now.
As air and water temperatures drop, the Virginia Aquarium wants you to be on the lookout for cold-stunned sea turtles. The animals can become lethargic and drift on top of the water or wash ashore if they are exposed to water temperatures below 50 degrees. They may appear dead. The cold weather makes the turtles vulnerable to predators, accidental boat strikes, and death. If you see a sea turtle that looks like it is in trouble, call the stranding response team.